On September 17, 1862, near Sharpsburg, Maryland, the Battle of Antietam became the bloodiest single day in American military history. It still matters because its outcome helped turn the Civil War toward emancipation and a larger federal war effort. By late summer 1862, the Confederacy had momentum, while the Union faced pressure to prove it could win decisively. In Washington, military success was tied to morale, politics, and the future of slavery itself. The Union commander was cautious and deliberate, often criticized for moving too slowly. Across from him stood a Confederate army, led by a commander under pressure to strike boldly while operating deep in enemy territory. Both armies were large, tired, and unevenly supplied, with muskets, artillery, wagons, and horses stretched across long supply lines. Morale depended on food, ammunition, confidence, and the belief that the next move might decide the campaign. The road to Antietam began with movement through Maryland, where both armies watched bridges, fords, and crossroads. Scouts, couriers, and exhausted columns turned the campaign into a race of information and timing. The battlefield itself was shaped by a narrow creek, rolling ridges, cornfields, and a few key roads and stone structures. Early autumn weather added heat, dust, and then a cool, uneasy stillness before the fighting. The Confederate plan relied on concentration and defensive advantage, hoping to meet each Union attack in turn. The Union plan aimed to probe, fix the enemy, and exploit any weakness along the line. At dawn, the opening phase erupted in the northern sector around a church and surrounding fields. Dense woods, fences, and artillery fire made coordination difficult, and the first hours set a brutal pace. The pressure point came in the center, where repeated assaults and counterattacks strained both armies. A shallow, sunken road became a deadly focal point, not because of myth, but because terrain and timing trapped men in place. On the Union left, a major movement sought to turn the Confederate flank and force a collapse. The advance through wooded ground and open slopes was costly in time, but it changed the battle's momentum. As the day wore on, one Confederate wing was pushed back, while another held under severe strain. The line did not fully shatter, but the battlefield began to tilt toward Union control of the key ground. By evening, both sides were exhausted, and the fighting faded into silence rather than a dramatic final charge. The field was left strewn with abandoned gear, broken fences, and the stillness that follows overwhelming strain. The next day, the armies remained in place long enough for the Confederate force to withdraw across the Potomac. That retreat gave the Union a strategic opening, even though the battle itself was tactically inconclusive. The immediate aftermath was grim and methodical. Casualties counted, wounded gathered, and commanders assessed what had been gained or lost. In a war already hardening, Antietam showed how costly a single day could be. Politically, the battle helped create the moment for a major shift in Union war aims. Within days, the administration could present the result as enough of a success to move toward emancipation as policy. In the years that followed, Antietam became central to memory, commemoration, and battlefield preservation. It was remembered not only as a military clash, but as a turning point in national purpose. Historians still debate whether the battle should be judged mainly by tactical results, operational consequences, or political impact. The answer depends on whether one looks at the field, the campaign, or the nation. Some questions remain open, including how much command caution shaped the day and how close either side came to a decisive breakthrough. Careful scholarship avoids simple legends and instead follows the evidence of movement and timing. Today, the Antietam landscape still carries the scale of the battle in its roads, ridges, and open ground. Standing there, visitors can see how geography, weather, and command decisions converged in one extraordinary day. The battle began in a climate of urgency, with both governments watching for news that could change the war. Every report from Maryland carried political weight far beyond the fields where it was fought. Union soldiers marched with confidence mixed with fatigue, while Confederate soldiers carried the strain of long campaigning northward. Both armies knew that supplies, rest, and timing could matter as much as courage. The commanders had to make decisions with incomplete information, relying on scouts, signal flags, and reports that might already be outdated. In a fast-moving campaign, uncertainty was often the most dangerous enemy. Artillery dominated the open ground, while infantry formations struggled through fences, corn, and uneven terrain. The battle showed how Civil War armies could be powerful, yet still vulnerable to confusion. The famous bridge crossing was only one part of a much larger fight, but it symbolized the challenge of forcing a passage under fire. Narrow approaches slowed movement and gave defenders precious time. Elsewhere, wooded lanes and farm roads became temporary corridors for attack and retreat. The battlefield's broken edges made it hard for commanders to see the whole fight at once. The morning fighting revealed how quickly a local success could become a larger crisis. Units pressed forward, paused, and were then met by fresh reserves, turning momentum into exhaustion. In the center, the pressure on the Confederate line was especially severe because the ground funneled attacks into narrow approaches. That bottleneck created repeated, costly clashes without a clean breakthrough. The Union left eventually found a way to push through after hours of fighting. That movement did not end the battle instantly, but it forced the defenders to react and redistributed the pressure across the field. Confederate reserves and artillery helped prevent a total collapse. Even under strain, disciplined fire and local counter-movements kept the army from being destroyed on the spot. As afternoon wore on, the battlefield became a contest of endurance more than surprise. Men fought in fragments of units, and command control grew harder as smoke and distance obscured everything. The final phase was shaped by fatigue, not triumph. When the firing ebbed, neither side had the strength to launch a fresh, decisive effort before darkness settled over the field. Night brought silence, but not peace. Survivors tended the wounded, gathered ammunition, and waited for orders, while the battlefield remained a place of uncertainty and fear. The following morning, commanders faced the practical reality that holding the field was not the same as destroying the enemy. The Confederate withdrawal turned the battle's tactical ambiguity into a strategic Union opportunity. News of Antietam moved quickly through the North and South, shaping public confidence and leadership decisions. In wartime, perception could be nearly as important as the battlefield result itself. The battle also highlighted the limits of 19th-century command and communication. Even skilled armies could not always coordinate across broken ground, smoke, and the delays of messenger-based control. In the long view, Antietam helped shift the war from a struggle for reunion into a struggle that would also determine the fate of slavery. That change in purpose made the battle historically larger than its single-day outcome.